Okay. Oh shit, we're live. Well, we're not live actually. We're the opposite of live. We're fucking pre-recorded. Why did I say we're live? That's a fucking bad habit of mine.
Because you're dumb.
Anyway, gentlemen,
Say we're live.
tonight,
Say we're live one more time.
tonight we are gathered here because finally, you gentlemen have finally gone to see Godzilla -1. I saw it on Thursday for the preview screening. Took the day off from work, went to the theater by myself, and I was like, "Oh, it's on. We doing this." Got myself a big ass tub of popcorn. Bought myself a hot dog, which I learned now that American movie theater hot dogs taste like shit.
It depends on the movie theater.
No, it
really
doesn't.
does. Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
Well, if it's like a studio movie grill, or like someplace that's
Nah, they microwave that shit. I saw them.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, the hot dogs that were Showbiz just got bought out by Evo, and so I don't know what's going to happen with that. But
Showbiz, like with the bear and Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, with
Showbiz?
the bear.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Weird place to watch a movie.
So yeah, I took the
hot
day
dogs
off from work because I've been hearing the buzz on YouTube and online that the new Godzilla movie was a goddamn masterpiece, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And everyone's talking about how this is throwing egg in the face in all of Hollywood. I'm like, "Oh shit!" And it's just very embarrassing to all the woke tards out there. So I'm like, I need to watch this important ass film. So I took the day off from work, went to watch it, and in my opinion, best movie of the year by far. Best movie of 2023, and probably the best Godzilla movie ever made. So that's my introduction. Now, you gentlemen, give us
Donnie,
your
tell me how you really feel, Donnie.
Yeah, you're holding back a little too much on that one, Donnie.
I think you need to talk about it, Donnie.
Yeah. See, here's the thing: we would have seen it sooner, but I got sick and he got old, so that's all. That's all there was to it. We went as soon as we could.
Oh my God, that is exactly what.
That's what happened.
Your bodies are falling apart.
Let me tell you, it's been an interesting 2 weeks.
Well, Paco, were you excited for Godzilla? Did you hear all the hype leading up to it?
So here's the thing: I heard too much hype going into it, and that was something that me and Jason both said. We're unsure of how to feel about that because we've had the hype before. My God, I'm looking at you, Flash, where you were hyped to the nth degree, and you were a complete piece of crap film. Favorite part of the Flash movie should be the other characters in Flash.
Yeah, everyone else in the movie.
Yeah. But going into Godzilla, I was worried that it was going to be too hyped up. Right? Huge fan of Shin Godzilla. So that's where my barometer is at. It's not anything from Legendary's MonsterVerse or Kaijuverse or whatever. And it's not to say that those movies are bad. It's just Shin Godzilla to me is that good. I will tell you, the hype is real on this one. The first 5 minutes, I think I looked at Jason and I was like, what the hell are we watching? Because it was just, it was not the Godzillas we'd seen before.
By the way, sorry to interrupt, but light spoilers. So you can
light spoilers, right?
Light spoilers, because I got a big.
Okay. Everything except the ending. Don't give away the ending, but everything else is fair game. How about that?
I don't want to say this because in case anyone doesn't know, but Godzilla goes on a rampage.
Yeah.
Stuff is destroyed.
Yeah. Again, spoiler alert, but Godzilla is a giant radioactive lizard, and stuff gets stepped on.
But not as giant as you might think going into the movie.
Right. He's more along the lines of what he was originally in the original 1950s Godzilla. In fact, he may even be a little bit smaller than that. But to your point, again, I was trying to avoid anything that looked like spoilers because I wanted to go in with this, and I will agree with you. I think this is the best Godzilla movie. I do want to compare it to Shin Godzilla here in a second because I think those two are the best Godzilla movies ever made.
Yeah.
This I do think is better, but there's a caveat to why it's better. However, I will say this. I don't know that it's necessarily the best movie of the year, but it's easily. But if you say it's top 5, at least top 10, I think you're safe. But to your point, this movie we know it costs less than $15,000 to make.
13.5
million. I'm sorry. Yeah.
13.2.
Yeah. $1 million, not 1,000. Sorry. Million.
Cost $11.
Yeah. It costs $11. Yeah. This in Sound of Freedom, and I don't even know what's going on with the Shift yet. I want to see that one, but
don't get ahead of it, Jason.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
Stay on key.
Yeah. No, I will. I'm just saying the fact that this movie was. If you had told me this movie cost $50 million to make, I would have believed it.
I would have believed $100 million.
I think I would have believed $100 million.
I think I will say
after the shoddy job done on a couple of movies this year,
on the Flash, and
I'm not even trying to pick on the Flash, but just a couple of movies this year, I would have easily bought into that. This was $100 million.
This was $100 million. Yeah, I mean that's fair. My point is, it was made with heart. It is the best Godzilla movie I think ever made thus far, and it's easily top 10. I'd say at least top 5 for the year. And I'd even say it's probably top 10 for the last couple of years, to be honest. Because it's just, and I'm glad they didn't do, okay, normally I have to listen, when I watch foreign films, I got to do the dub because I'm usually doing something else. So I'm not sitting down watching it. The fact that I was able to sit down and watch it, the fact that it was subbed is my favorite part. Because you can actually hear the actors, the emotion.
The true emotion.
The true emotion, you hear it in the Japanese. It contextualizes it in a way that you wouldn't get it if it was dubbed. So again, love the movie. Again, easily best Godzilla movie ever made.
I'm still gonna have Shin Godzilla right above it. It's not much. If to me, if Shin Godzilla, because I'm really hard to give a movie a 10, any movie a 10. But if Shin Godzilla is a 9.9, this is a 9.8. So it's like right there.
I gotta say, I like this one better than Shin Godzilla just because it was better paced and the human characters were more interesting.
Loved the human characters, loved everything. It was one little bitty thing that I told Jason about, which it's about the height of Arc 3 going into the final battle, but I don't want to give into. Well, this isn't giving away the ending. I know that sounds really weird, but there is an ending to this, and then there's the battle, and it's two different things. But I'll put it this way: Endgame, and I'm talking about Avengers Endgame, set a precedent with the every man in type story. And that's kind of killed it for movies after that. And I know they're not the first one to do it, but it was the most impactful. The latest one is Jason digs into his ear. But having seen that now kind of play out in a few other different movies, I was just like, okay, like I'm not against it, not like it didn't bring me down from it, but that's what takes that 2 points away from it. It's just I'm getting a little tired of seeing that. But other than that, this movie is just about as flawless as you can possibly get.
See, and that didn't. I'm not going to knock it because the context of the film.
Yeah, I get it.
I think it worked. Here's the thing: I think it works better than it does in a lot of these other films because there is a larger message. Like I said, I do think this is better than Shin Godzilla as a film, and that's my caveat. Whereas Shin Godzilla is straight up a political conversation, about the dysfunction within the modern Japanese government.
Yeah,
I think one could argue not just Japanese, but American as well. I mean,
well, you could argue. You could argue. Well, you could argue all. Any
almost every government.
Yeah,
almost every Western style government. But the thing is, it is very much about the Japanese government. That's who they're pointing their fingers at. But it's applicable to just about everybody. This, though, it's very much. It's about as close as Japan's ever going to get to a conversation about World War II. And that's really what this movie was. And it's called out. There's a very specific scene where he calls out some of the mistakes that the Japanese government made. In fact, a running theme is the Japanese government sucks. They would rather shut up and not take responsibility than actually deal with the problem.
Well, it's different because in -1, it takes place right at the end of World War II, right? The bombs have been dropped.
Literally moments after World War II. Guys, do yourself a favor. Watch Oppenheimer. and this is the sequel to Oppenheimer. Okay?
Yeah, it literally takes place like right when World War II is ending. Let's just explain some of the basic concepts for the people who haven't seen it yet. Okay, so the main character is a guy named what's his name? Shigoshima Koichi. Koichi.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Koichi.
he's the main protagonist. The movie is really mostly about him and his personal hero's journey, right? Where the movie starts where he basically lands on Odo Island, which is basically a Japanese, I guess, refueling and maintenance station, right? A waypoint.
Right. For the kamikaze drive, the bombers.
And he lands his plane, right? And the first thing that happens is he gets out of the plane, and the engineers, they come up to him and they regard him as a hero because they're like, "Oh, you're a kamikaze pilot. We're so honored to meet you. You're one of those people that will literally lay down your life for us and the Empire." And then they're all like, in reverence towards him. And then as they're looking over his plane, they realize, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong with this plane at all. This guy's a fucking coward, right? And then Godzilla shows up, right? Pretty much kills everyone except for Koichi and then the other guy. What's his name?
He was the main mechanic.
Takamura?
I think it was Takamura.
Yeah.
Well, you're close. It was Tachibana.
Oh,
Tachibana.
Okay, so Tachibana, he's like the head engineer. He and Koichi are the only ones who survive. And meanwhile, I don't know, walk us through the first time you see Godzilla. What happens, gentlemen?
Plays out like a horror film.
Yeah.
And I loved that. Here we are where they're starting to realize, this pilot's not who he claims to be, which is not that he's claiming to be a hero, but that he's a coward.
He just doesn't want to die.
There's no doubt about that. And so they start talking about it, and I really was very surprised to hear the term of Godzilla used as quickly as it was, because they had already heard rumors of this dinosaur-like creature. And so the first time we see him, he's roughly the size of a T-Rex.
Yeah, maybe a little bit higher, but
a little bit taller,
much.
But not.
He looks more like a proper dinosaur
with a little bit of armor-plated enhancements.
Yeah,
is the best way to say it, right?
I mean, he looks like Godzilla in that picture right there, but he's just smaller. He's the mini.
He's tiny.
He's the fun size Godzilla.
He's the
his arms are shorter, right? He looks a little bit more like a T-Rex. He just looks like a really big T-Rex at this point, right? Not quite the full Godzilla
that we know to love.
Yeah.
But he's tearing through these soldiers, and when I mean tearing through, he's eating them in half, and not eating them, but chomping on them and then tossing them in the air. Like
he's not there to eat; he's there to kill them.
He's absolutely. Maybe he's in pain. He's just frustrated. He's taking it out on everybody, but there's no way. It sets it up very early in the movie. This Godzilla is not here to be friendly, to be worshipped, to be on the side of humanity. He's mistaken a creature. No. He's a pure creature of destruction. And it shows it right from the first 5 minutes of this film.
Well, he's territorial. Yeah. He's like, this is my territory. I don't want you here. Much. This is my stuff. Go away.
And so we get more into the main character because they're asking him, the maintenance guy, the head maintenance guy, he's telling him, the head mechanic, he's like, hey, he's small enough that I think if you get to your plane and just pump him full of some rounds, I think you can do that.
Yeah, he had like a 20 millimeter machine gun on his plane. He's like, just use the machine gun, man. He's right there.
Gonna tear through him.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. 20 millimeters is gonna put. Yeah, it's gonna put anything down.
And it would have. That's one thing that I love later on in the story is they tell you that it absolutely could have ended there. Maybe not ended, but certainly the people's lives that were lost at that moment could have all been saved had he had just gotten to the plane and pulled the trigger. So he gets to the plane. Much like the kamikaze incident, he just freezes. He doesn't. He's seeing him right in front of him. He's shaking. He can't. He's frozen with fear. And that's where it comes into that point of this man. He's not every person that went to go fight in the war, no matter what side, wanted to be in the position that they were in. And he's the epitome of everyone. He's the one that doesn't want to be there. He doesn't know what to do. It's real life. He's good at being a pilot, but he doesn't want to die. He doesn't want to kill anyone, and he doesn't know what to do. He's just looking at this creature tear up the place. And so the very first five, like I said, 5-10 minutes. It's a little bit longer than 5 minutes, but the first part of the movie is right off the bat we're seeing Godzilla. Right off the bat,
he is fucking those dudes up, and that guy's just like watching from his
his
cockpit.
He can't do anything. He's holding on to the
and these guys eventually they take out their rifles, they try to fight Godzilla, and all he can do is watch as Godzilla just smashes these dudes.
Yep. Yeah. Literally rips them apart. And they're showing it. They did not. That's the other thing that I appreciated about this. They did not hold back on that. It was like, no. When you bite someone, there's blood. when you have a creature that crunches you, you're gonna hear it. Like, it's very audio. It's very visual. Everything that's there, it's there for you to see. And so,
without being over the top either. Like, that's the other thing. It's not like it doesn't lean into the gore, but it doesn't hide from the fact that these people are dying very painfully and terribly, and you hear them screaming when a lot of times in these monster films when people are thrown, it's almost treated as a joke, like
you kind of cheer for it. You're there for it.
Yeah, you're there for it. But this movie, again, like to Ray's point, it starts off like a horror film. You feel how terrifying this event is, and it's to Ray's point. When we
talk to Ray, we'll let him know.
Yeah, we'll let Ray know. So yeah, that's the other. That's my side. It's my side squeeze. For when I was talking to Paco, like in the 70s when he was the friendly Godzilla, you'd see him sooner rather than later. But I can't remember any movie where he's, villain or monster where he is seen that quickly, and he's just there. And it's not just that he appears; he's coming at you. It's almost Five Nights at Freddy's like where it's just
no, it's not. That movie was crap too. Speaking of movies that are crap, and that won't make my top 5 of the year.
I have no interest.
Maybe the bottom.
Okay,
maybe the bottom.
Let me explain to people the difference between this Godzilla and Shin Godzilla, because I've been thinking about this, right? Because Shin Godzilla, we talked about this when we did the episode, right, with Jason with Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla doesn't really seem to care about the people per se. His whole thing is he gets up out of the water, he literally just moves in a direction. Whatever just happens to be in his way, or whoever he steps on, he's literally just the whole movie. He's just walking in one direction. Nobody knows where he's going. I don't think even Shin Godzilla knows where he's going. He's sort of like mindless.
He's a completely mindless thing.
This Godzilla is the complete opposite. This Godzilla just fucking hates everybody. He gets up when he attacks Tokyo. It's like all the buildings there, they like stole his lunch money or something. He's like, you're a building, fuck you, building, and fuck you, building. And he's just like going around smashing people and stomping on them. And it's like, fuck you, humans. Like, this is the complete opposite Godzilla. This Godzilla is very intentional, very hateful, and just wants to kill everybody. Right?
Yeah, because he's territorial. That's that. And they even say he's territorial, and that's what's happening here. He's like, big boat, you're in my territory, and I want you gone. That's
he's
all
like,
this
fuck
is.
You, boat. I hate you.
Which reminds me, the atomic breath on this one.
Yes.
What I loved, it wasn't the fire itself. It was when it finally hits and it ends, and it's reminiscent of an atomic bomb being dropped, because that's what his breath is, right? I mean, they call it heat. His heat breath.
Yeah, it's a heat. They call it a heat ray.
Yeah. Heat ray or whatever, but it's very much when it hits, you see the mushroom cloud. Like, there's no denying what he's doing, and just the pure nature of how it works, and the fact that it's very much like you're going to get pushed out by the shockwaves of this bomb, only to be sucked back in as well, which was a fantastic scene when they were showing that. I mean, that's exactly how it would play out.
That was a pretty gut-wrenching scene, man.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Thank you for saying that. How much heart and emotion this movie has is unbelievable. No Godzilla movie deserves to be this emotionally impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Godzilla attacks in this movie, unlike the other movies, when Godzilla attacks, you're like, awesome, right? We finally got past all the boring human shit. Now we're gonna see Godzilla tear shit up. In this movie, when Godzilla attacks, you are legitimately scared for the people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you see the look, you see the look of terror in their eyes. You see all the civilians. You see the moms hugging the little babies, the old men. You know, you see Koichi and his little makeshift family, and you're like, oh fuck, I hope Godzilla doesn't kill too many people. And then he just kills a fuck ton of people.
And then
you feel it.
Yeah.
Not only that, but the shock of, the only thing I can compare it to, sorry, it's not a comparison, but it is the only thing I can think of in real life, is seeing people after 9/11 just in pure shock. Like, they weren't running, they were focused on the event happening in front of them, and you would be thinking, man, you got to get out of there. But it's just that shock of what is going on, and to see them convey that here was really eerie, because there are people that, like, when he's firing up for the first time with his atomic breath, they just hear it and they turn around and they look and they're like, what is happening? Why is he starting to glow? And it's not until almost when it's time where the one guy with the briefcase is just like, oh, this isn't good, and he just starts running. Like, it finally dawns on him something bad.
And then everyone else is just standing there and all watching.
Like,
because it's a glowing, it's a glowing lizard. Like, you're like, what is happening? And which is probably my favorite version of this has been my favorite version of his atomic breath. Not just the fact that it does, again, it's not even being subtle with the symbolism on this. It starts in his tail, and his spines actually pop out of him. They start to glow. And what happens is when he actually lets out the they call the heat ray, his atomic breath, the spines that are glowing shove back into him. Like, it is literally a visual representation of an atomic reaction with the rods going into.
Oh, I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. It's like, it's very clear that's what he's like. This whole thing, like, it's like, would you like us to smack you upside the face even harder with the fact that he is a living representation of the atomic bomb? Here you go. And the fact they even show, it's like, again, we see mini-me Godzilla at the beginning, and then the war is over. Koichi goes back. He sees, his family is dead, right? He's literally in the bomb.
Okay, let me let's touch up on that. So,
I was going to get to one point. It's like, they set the scene, and then so they let you know this is devastation, but then they move back to here's Godzilla, and we see the Bikini Atoll tests.
Oh yeah,
which creates SpongeBob. But then also you actually see Godzilla being irradiated by the test.
And then you see him waking up and be like, who the fuck? You're going to get it now.
Yeah, right? And you see him actually getting hit by the radiation, and it's very quick, but you see his skin and stuff peeling away, which is, again, they make it very clear this is what he is. He is a living representation of the atomic bomb, and he's unleashed. So going back to Koichi and his makeshift family.
Okay, so Koichi, the initial attack, Koichi hides and survives. When he wakes up the next morning, and meanwhile, this dude's traumatized as fuck, right? Not only because of the war, but now because this horrifying monster just did all this.
The PTSD in this movie is real.
Yeah.
Oh man. And when he finally comes out the next morning, he sees all the bodies lined up. The one survivor was that guy who in the beginning pointed out that, hey, your plane is all right. So this guy's pissed, right? He's like, not only does he think he's a coward for not sacrificing himself in the kamikaze raids, now he thinks he's a coward because he had the opportunity to shoot Godzilla and he didn't. So this dude at this point fucking hates this guy, right? So much so that when they're on the boat back home, he just walks up to him all quietly, he hands him an envelope, and Koichi's like, what is this? And then he looks at it, and it's all the pictures of all the families of all the guys who died. And he's like even more traumatized, and this guy's rubbing it in. See, this whole movie is about the PTSD, the guilt and shame of war and surviving war, like survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
And what it means to be in a very... Now, here's the other thing that I was just paying attention to. This movie, again, when I mentioned woke tards earlier, this is such the opposite movie of wokeness, because this movie is about men. right? And what it means to be a man in Japanese society, because this guy doesn't feel like a man at all, based off what he did in the war, what happened with Godzilla. He comes back to Tokyo and it is rubble, because if you guys know your history, America firebombed the shit out of Tokyo, right? It wasn't just Hiroshima and Nagasaki that got fucking destroyed, right? Tokyo got
more people died in the firebomb raids in Tokyo than died in I think it was actually both atomic blasts.
And when you see him walking through Tokyo, you're like, they might as well just have dropped an A-bomb on this place, because it looks the result looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
Everyone in his neighborhood is dead.
Built out of essentially flammable materials, and we're dropping fire bombs. Like it was horrific.
And this guy is making his finally back home from the war, making his way back home to his family residence where his parents are. He finds the entire neighborhood's been leveled. There's only one survivor who's like his next door neighbor, who's like this lady who also, like, everyone just lost all of their family members.
Hold on. Which, by the way, she's either 32 or 68. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like every time you look at her, she looks like she's either really old or really young. It is bothering me. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But because
meet people like that in Japan, by the way. I've been there like 3 times.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but go ahead.
One of the most powerful, in my opinion, one of the most powerful scenes is when she confronts him.
Yes.
And she starts blaming him for all the destruction in the neighborhood because he was such a coward that he wouldn't sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make any rational sense, but at this point, this lady lost her entire freaking family.
Well, it's 3 kids, so she lost her 3 children. And you're right, man. She just comes out and was like, if you had died, the rest of us would have lived. Like, she put it squarely on him.
Yeah.
And he bought into that so much. That's the other thing I like seeing about it is that he portrays someone who, even when family and happiness is right there at his fingertips and is just a couple of words away from being a good life, he will not take it because he feels he has not earned it or deserved to ever be happy or to ever have a family. And how he shows that, and through his trauma, hats off to the actor, because wonderfully done.
Like, go ahead.
Yeah, well, to your point, when she is yelling at him when he's back, there's so many heart-wrenching moments in this film
that don't even involve Godzilla.
They have not.
Can't even believe we're talking about a Godzilla film like this.
Yeah. This is, again, the reason I think this is the best Godzilla film is that it's about the people. Like, it really does it has way more heart than a Godzilla movie has any right to be, but it's because it really actually, the very first Godzilla was dealing with it was trying to be a cathartic expression of the trauma of war, right? Everyone focuses on the atomic bombs. It's like, no, it's really what happened in Tokyo. But the thing is, the atomic bombs broke the psyche of Japan, because everyone forgets the Japanese were an imperial power. The rising sun flag was essentially the same as a swastika for when Europe sees a swastika. Southeast Asia and most of Asia, when you see the rising sun flag, it's the same damn thing.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm just laughing like, please, white man, tell us more about that.
No, I mean, it was very much, even up through to the war, it was very much samurai culture. And then after the war, people in Japan all of a sudden realized, oh, all that samurai shit that we believed in growing up as kids, that was all bullshit.
Yeah, well, I mean, the emperor was a god.
Yeah,
the emperor was worshipped as a god. Again, it was essentially 17th century, really 15th or 14th century Japan, but with modern technology. And essentially, they just got slapped so hard. They said, no, we can wipe you off the planet if we want. And it was the idea that, because everyone, I mean, again, this is one of those things, if you're not into history, you miss. The Japanese were as xenophobic and supremacist as the Nazis. They really were. They looked at they weren't just white. It wasn't just Asians.
Oh, they committed just as plenty of atrocities themselves.
They were as bad. They were
all too well.
Yeah, I was about to say, Korean, but they saw themselves as the highest level of Asian race. They're like, no, we're superior. They were supremacists, and
Well, I was going to say, Jason, to your point, when we saw it, get a very good thing, which is like good on the director for trying to figure out how to openly talk about it.
Yeah.
And not feel a little bit scared himself and confronting it the way he does. It's any good movie worth its weight will talk about a subject matter in a way that it's almost hidden until you start peeling back the layers, and then you realize, wow, you were really trying to make a statement with this movie.
Yeah, like I said,
around Godzilla.
This is as open a conversation as will ever happen about what the Japanese were doing in World War II as anything, because there's, and again, the scene where where the civilians are like, look, we're going to figure out how we're going to solve this problem, but he has this lecture, the scientist has this lecture about how the Japanese government and culture he's like, we have not valued human life at all. And he talks about all the ways. He's like, look, we didn't value human life. We were willing to throw it away, which goes back to Koichi's whole point, which is he saw himself as a failure for not dying because he was supposed to be a kamikaze pilot. And they even tell you, he's like, yeah, well, I wasn't so good when he's talking to Tachimura. He's like, yeah, I wasn't so good with the dogfight. He's like, I'm a good pilot, but I'm not good with dogfighting. So they made me a kamikaze. Where it's like, yeah, okay, you're expendable. And that was like, the culture was, you can be thrown away. And that's what he's coming at in the science. Like, we're not going to lose anybody in this fight against Godzilla. We're going to solve it. We're going to save lives, and we're going to do it by saving our own lives, by keeping us alive.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Again, it's which is where a lot of this heart comes from, because to Donnie's point, it is dealing with not just the trauma of war, but also the shame of surviving a war in a culture where you weren't supposed to survive that war.
Can I tell you, in my opinion, the two most powerful scenes, in my opinion, were both with Koichi. The first one was where he has that mental breakdown in his bedroom, where he's just like, I think I'm dead. I think I'm dead, right? And then his partner, what was her name? Shit, I gotta look up their names. What's her fucking name? Oh, Noriko.
Because they all look alike to you. Is that right, Donnie?
They all kind of do, actually. I ain't gonna lie. Oh my God. I ain't gonna lie. I've been there 3 times, man.
You got lost?
I've hooked up with a few Japanese ladies. Anyway, well, plenty of Koreans and Chinese as well, and Vietnamese and Filipinos. And
we'll talk later, Don. I mean, anyway.
Go ahead. Anyway, when the lights are off, they all look the same. Just saying.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
but that scene between him and her.
Okay, so that scene, and then the next scene, and this was, in my opinion, the one of the most powerful scenes I've seen in a movie in a long time, is when, after Godzilla shoots off that atomic breath, and that guy is the only fucker who survived in the whole block. So now he has to relive the trauma again, and that guy just lets out the most blood-curdling, like, insane scream. When he's staring at Godzilla, he just falls to his knees, and he lets out like, and he's just like the most insane scream.
Yeah,
he's like, he's living his trauma for like a 3rd time. Like, this guy cannot get a break.
And it's getting a break of either acceptance or getting a break of dying, right? Either that's the whole thing on all 3 scenes for him that it goes to, and they happen pretty quick in succession. It's not like a end of the movie revelation. It's those 3 scenes are all very fast, very quick, and it's a blood curdling. Seriously, a third time I'm going to survive something like this, and like, why can I? Really, it's why can I not die? Kind of a feeling.
Exactly. Considering why he survived, because it's not just that he survived; it's he survived because somebody else died, saving his ass again. And it is not just. I wouldn't say it's it was blood curdling. It was heart wrenching because his scream was such a primal scream.
But then there was also a little bit of rage because he was staring at Godzilla. He was like, "You motherfucker!" Right?
Yeah, no, it's rage, but it's frustration,
anguish,
and anguish, because he's like, all these people keep dying. and I'm the one who's supposed to die. Like he's like, I'm the guy who is supposed to die.
Literally his job.
Literally his job is to die, and he can't die. He keeps getting knocked out. Like this dude has to have brain trauma, CT,
sure.
Yeah.
Was it CTC or
Just
whatever?
keep going.
Yeah. By the end of this film, but it's every chance where he's like, he really should be dead. Someone has done who's not supposed to die dies to save his life, and when it starts to rain on him while he's screaming, it's so emblematic of just everything that he's going through. But he, in a way, again, he sort of embodies Japan's rage
And
from what happened in trauma of World War II. Because he's like, I'm supposed to be dead.
Dude, that
but
guy
I'm
was
alive.
such a good actor, man. The acting in this movie was so fucking good.
It was amazing.
It was so, again, better than any right it had.
Yeah.
Coming out of a Godzilla flick.
Remember the scene? Okay. So remember the scene where the little girl was like realizing that her adopted mother is dead? She's like 2 years old, and then she starts crying. That was the most convincing cry I've ever seen a baby,
that was a
toddler do on film ever in my life. I mean,
it's like what
I think someone must have like hit her toe with like a hammer or something.
Someone pinched her while she was crying. I'm telling you.
I had the same about like someone must have been officer like
someone pinched her. Someone showed her the scariest thing where she was like,
shot a dog. Like here's a puppy.
I mean, like no, that's legitimately a straight up a baby crying. Like someone did something to her to make her cry like that.
I had the same. I was like, what did you do to that child to make her cry?
For 13.2 million, someone poked her with a needle.
Yeah,
they couldn't afford.
Yeah, they poked her with a needle.
Yep, they did something. But yeah, again, it's in the question keeps coming. It was like, why didn't you marry her? Why? It's like how she felt, and there's this again dealing
spoilers.
With Donnie already admitted that she died. Like, let's be honest. You're like, can we just be?
Donnie never once said who.
Yeah, he did. He literally did.
You could piece it together. You could infer it.
But,
well, Paco doesn't pay attention to things, so anyway.
The inference could have been made. Yeah.
The bottom line is that just him not feeling that he deserved any sort of happiness. And seeing it from that point of view and seeing it from his point of view, the actor made you feel like, well, maybe you didn't deserve it. Like you kind of, for sure in the second incident, which happens to be the first incident of the movie, in that instance, you don't. There were other people there that you cost their lives 100%. That was your fault.
Yeah,
like you can argue the lady where you didn't do your job as a kamikaze and blah. Yeah, that's pushing it, right? But
well, you also have to consider if he didn't pull the trigger and potentially kill Godzilla, he wouldn't have been able to attack that city like that.
Yeah.
So that's still in a way his fault.
Yeah.
It is.
So a lot of the stuff is him just being afraid, and you sympathize with it, but then you're also kind of like, yeah, I get it, man. Maybe you shouldn't be happy in your life. Maybe you deserve to. Yeah, you that is your punishment is you get to survive all this because you could have ended a lot of it, and so you should have to live with this guilt. You should have to live with this, and there is a moment where you're thinking, while you're watching the movie, it's like, dude, you kind of earned it,
Well, so here, this is why I love this film. There's the echoing of Shin Godzilla, because remember the scene in Shin Godzilla when he's just hanging out and the helicopter and the attack helicopter's there, and the prime minister will not let them pull the trigger because there's two elderly people there, and he doesn't. For him, it was the cowardice of being held of saying, okay, I don't want to be held accountable for the deaths of these two people. And I think I still hold to this. That film was telling you right then and there, they'd pulled the trigger. Godzilla's dead. He doesn't come back from that. He's still too early in his development. It's the stuff that happens later on. That's when he becomes immortal. Same thing with this. They tell you straight up, this will kill him. His magic healing powers come from the radiation. So he would be dead this whole thing ends, and you can all argue fate put him there. His cowardice of not wanting to be the kamikaze, which is why he stopped there, put him in the position to stop Godzilla. And that's his crime, was that but now it's the same cowardice that brought him there is the cowardice that kept him from killing Godzilla and saving everyone and actually saving people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, agreed.
So,
okay.
yeah.
What did you guys think of the boat scene?
Which one?
You know the one I'm talking about.
Well, there were several. Really
Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, can I tell you my next favorite scene?
Wait,
on a boat.
Are
what are
you
talking about?
Are you talking about the first wooden boat scene with Godzilla?
Okay, when they're on the wooden boat, right? Because at one point, so Koichi eventually gets a job on a mine clearing boat, right?
Yeah.
But it's like a wooden fishing boat because if the mines are magnetic, they have to use a wooden boat. But on the boat, he's got the boat captain. He's like this grizzled, boat guy, right? Fisher, sailor, or whatever. And then there's Dr. Noda, who's like the doctor. You know how every Godzilla movie's always got the egghead, the smart guy who figures out like the technology.
Except they play him more like he's an idiot. And the difference
being like a nerd.
Yeah, and the difference being is he's not. Like that was the other thing.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Because when he was with the guys, he was just another one of the guys, and they kind of like saw him as just kind of like this weirdo. But then once everything goes to a head, then it turns out, oh, this guy's a super genius.
Yeah, he's a freaking genius, and he's just again, he's on that boat because he's part of that crew that they're just thrown together, and so he's like, let me do my part.
Yeah, it's like we gotta
let me help clear out minds.
Yeah, it's like because he's a weapons specialist. Yeah. That's what he designed. He was a naval that's a job.
So
that you can
I'll tell you I'll tell you the part in the movie that made me laugh. I laughed real hard at this. Okay. I felt like I was the only person in the theater laughing too, which was.
Let's see if it was where we laughed.
Okay, so it was when. So finally, Godzilla just got done fucking up Tokyo. He goes back into the ocean, and now he goes from boat to boat, just like sinking like the entire Navy. American destroyers, he's like, Japanese ships, whatever, right? He's just going from boat to boat, just fucking them up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they arrive at this destroyed American destroyer, and they're these guys in this dinky boat, and they're like, what the hell just did that? And then the captain's like, you know what? We were sent here because we have to confront the Godzilla. And then Koichi's, at this point, is the only one who's actually seen Godzilla. Keep in mind, the other people haven't seen Godzilla yet. So Koichi is like, what are we doing? Keep in mind, he just went through his third hardcore trauma. And he's like, we're here to confront this thing? At this point, I think he's kind of turned around. He's like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to get him, right? Because this is where he kind of stands up to Godzilla finally, and he does pull the trigger. But the part that made me laugh so freaking hard was when they were telling Koichi why they were there, and he's kind of having like this moment. Mm-hmm. And then the captain's like, you know what? We had to buy time for that other warship to get here. Yeah. Our only Japanese warship is on its way, and it'll save us, but we just have to buy the time. And he's giving like this inspirational speech, and then finally he sees Godzilla come up from the water for the first time. And he's just like, okay, turn around, full throttle, let's get the fuck out of here.
Never mind, floor it.
Yeah, floor it. He's like, no, we're going. We can't do this.
Yes, I probably, in my opinion, is like, I can't think of a chase scene in recent memory that made my asshole pucker as bad.
Yes,
we laughed though. That was the funny thing, because it's funny. You're right. We're laughing at that scene, and then it's immediately goes into
horror film.
You might want to like hurry up because like Jaws has nothing on this chasing in the water.
When you got Godzilla chasing you into water like Jaws, like Godzilla was pretending to be Jaws. I can imagine Jaws would be like, God damn, that's terrifying.
I was like, nope, there's worse.
Yeah, no, there's worse.
No,
that's worse than Megalodon. Could you imagine how freaking terrifying a Megalodon would be chasing you in a boat?
Yeah. And I think it wouldn't compare.
And that ain't even close to a Godzilla. And there were a few times where they got real close to his mouth because they had to turn, and you're just like, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing, and it was. It was like, no, we're not gonna stay here and give him time. It's like, get out of here.
We're out.
He probably had the best comedic drops like again when they meet up to kind of get the civilians involved, and you know the one of the guys, right, the scientist goes up there and goes, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and he's like, wait, he's a real scientist? Like,
yes,
he was like,
Oh
when
yeah,
were they gonna tell us?
No, but the other thing is, right after the Doctor gives his big reveal of his plan to destroy Godzilla in front of all these former military serious dudes, what's the next scene? They're at like a cafe and they're all having drinks and food and they're all like teasing each other, right? Him and Koichi and the captain.
But will it really work?
Yeah.
He's like, yes. But are
you
like, sure?
And they're like making fun of him. They're like, hey, your plan sucks, dude. And they're all getting drunk.
Yeah.
It's the little human moments in this movie. Because that scene leads to
Take notes, Hollywood. Take notes.
Yeah, it leads to another powerful scene between two of the main characters where, you know, he's just like, why didn't you do this? And that's when you first, not when you first come to realize, but really when it's spoken out loud, that is because he feels he didn't deserve any type of happiness.
Yeah.
And as much as the guy wants to pummel the main character, he doesn't take pity. He just feels sorry for him. It's one of those things that I'm not going to beat you down because
he was beating him down in the beginning. He was
like, I'm not going to continue because you deserve it or anything else. I'm going to do it because you're pathetic. I'm stopping because you're not worth the rest of this beatdown, and you should.
I don't know if I saw it that way because I feel like he felt like that in the beginning. Because in the beginning, when he first like reunites with them, he's just like "fuck you," right, and just beating the shit out of him. It's like, why the hell did you come back here?
Yeah.
I feel like by the end though, he was more like, man, this guy suffered enough.
No, I'm talking his friend in the bar.
Friend in the bar.
I'm not even. I'm not talking about the mechanic. Right, like I'm talking about the friend in the bar.
The mechanic is a whole other thing.
Because the mechanic.
Wait, which friend in the bar?
The funny one who's like, let's floor it out of here.
Oh, the captain.
The boat captain.
Yeah.
He starts and he stops because then, granted, it could have been because he's playing up the drunk part, but it hit differently. Whereas in the other one was just had come to the realization that he had probably done enough. The mechanic felt like he had done enough self-inflicted wounds that he didn't need to pile on anymore. It was like I there's nothing bad I can do to you that you haven't already done to yourself.
Yeah. So I want to come back to the mechanic because that for me was like that scene between him and him at the end over the radio was probably that's where I lost it. But the thing I disagree with you about the friend at the bar. I don't think he was like, okay, I see. I think what happens, he's mad and he's frustrated. I'm like, because he's like, you are a friend, and because you're a friend and I care about you, why did you screw this up so badly? You could have been. It's like, why? It's like he's frustrated because he's like, you had this responsibility. You could have done it. You could have been happy. You could have made her happy. All of these things are coming out. It's the frustration with someone that he cares about. And then when he realizes it wasn't because he was a jack off and just being a slub, it's because he's like, I hate myself more than anything, and I was not worth being, to your point, he's
not
like,
worth happy.
I'm not worth being happy because I wanted to be happy with her, but I don't deserve that. That's when he's like, oh, that's when I think he stopped, because to me it's not, it's almost a letdown for him. I think it was worse than that because of the friendship that they had. Yeah.
I think for him it was like really was just you're pathetic. And it's not because you're pathetic because of what's going on or that he didn't die or he didn't, do what he was supposed to do. It was like, of course you earned it. Like, and for you to sit there and say that you didn't or anything else, you're a pathetic shell of a man. It was speaking to Donnie's earlier point about this being a movie about, what a man goes through. Like that's what his thought process was. It's like you were stupid. You had everything in front of you to have and to give, and like he had, I know this sounds weird to say, but he had some of the best throwaway lines that shouldn't have mattered, but he put a real sense of purpose behind them.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree.
And all right, maybe as good as Shin Godzilla. I'm starting to waver.
It's the emotional
Well,
resonance for me.
Shin Godzilla, it was great. I mean, that's also at the time when I saw Shin Godzilla, I thought it was the greatest Godzilla I had seen.
Because it was.
Yeah.
It
Because
was
it
the
was.
best. Yeah.
But Shin Godzilla goes for a very different thing in a lot of ways. Because I started thinking real hard about Shin Godzilla. I feel like it's like the opposite movie of this.
It is.
And that's what makes it cool. Because it's the opposite point of view. Godzilla is completely opposite in its, in what it's doing. And it's more from see. Here's the thing. That's strictly from the government perspective. In Godzilla minus one, there ain't no government.
Yeah.
There ain't no government. They're all on their own.
Yeah, and that's the theme. Like you said, they were very reversed. The thing about Shin Godzilla is, in many ways, it's very clinical, which is why it's so good, because it's a clinical, scourging of the government.
It comes off as a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's why I like Shin Godzilla.
And it's very clinical in that respect, and that's why it works so well. This one is all about heart, and to your point, and it's the difference in Godzilla's. He's just there. He's just a catastrophe,
a force of nature, an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, the other one. This is a very passionate Godzilla. Like when when he lets out a roar, like in Shin Godzilla, the roars are of pain. This is just a creature in pain.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It's like it's not trying to kill or hurt anyone.
It's just like evolving against its own will.
Yeah, it's as much a victim as anyone else. This movie, when he lets out the atomic breath,
he's absolutely the villain of this movie.
No, Godzilla is hateful.
Yeah, he's not happy hateful. Godzilla. He's not accidental Godzilla. He's
you know what points? You know what I think points this out the best? Okay, remember in Shin Godzilla when those Apache helicopters open up on Godzilla's face?
Yeah.
Right? All the missiles hit its face, you see the explosion, and when the smoke clears, what do you see? Godzilla hasn't even flinched, right? He's just got like those dead eyes. He doesn't even notice them, right? This Godzilla, one plane, Koichi in the plane takes a couple shots at him. Godzilla looks at that plane, he's like, "You motherfucker. Oh, I'm getting you."
And then he immediately he's like, "Oh, you're running away? No.
Oh no, I'm getting you, you son of a bitch."
Yeah, like it was like Godzilla as a cat with a laser pointer. He's like, "You're mine." Like this, it's like, again, it is pure rage, and you feel it, but it echoes Koichi's pain. This is a very human movie where Shin is very clinical observation and scourging of the Japanese government. This is about the pain of war and the trauma and PTSD of survivors' guilt. And so that's why it works so well. They both work because they're doing two different things entirely.
I will say, for a split second, when he's going through and he's like, "Is this real? Am I dead?" I thought, how cool would it be for this movie if that's the direction they took it? It's a fever dream, or it's this is how he's transitioning, dying in the war.
Yeah.
Like, but how cool would this movie be if the last scene is him hitting a ship in Pearl Harbor, right? And I know it's horrible to sit there and say, but it would definitely be a different take.
Midway,
like
probably.
It's on his head, right? That's.
I feel like that would be too dark of an ending for wider audiences.
But 110%, and it's not that this ending was happy either, guys.
Yeah, like, this is not a happy ending.
Too. It's not a happy ending, or at least
it's got happy moments.
That way. It's got a happy moment,
yeah, it's
right?
A happy moment.
It's not a happy ending.
Yeah,
it's a taint. Well, here's the thing: it is a tainted ending. It's a tainted happy ending.
Yeah,
and which again, the thing that broke me down was him and the mechanic at the end.
And when you finished your popcorn too, you were pretty sad about that.
I was really sad about the popcorn. That was actually really good popcorn.
Okay, we might as well explain. Okay, in order for this to make sense.
Yeah, in order for this to make sense. Okay.
Let's just go for it. Just go for it.
All right.
Full spoiler.
Go for it. Okay, full spoilers.
Watch the film and then come back to this. Okay.
Full spoilers.
Yeah. So
go watch the movie. At the beginning of the episode. If they get spoilers now, it's on you. Fuckers. Okay.
Exactly. Okay. I saw it coming for two reasons. One, because of how they had sort of set up with the professor's speech, but secondly, I can't read or speak German per se, but my father who specialized in European cars, so we did a lot of stuff. We actually had a lot of, particularly in the 80s and early 90s, a lot of stuff came directly from Germany, for Mercedes and the Audis. I'm sorry, Audis, BMW
nuts.
and all of that. So anyway, point being, so when I saw the chair in the plane, I'm like, that's German. I know what that word means. That's an ejector seat.
Which, to be fair, I don't even think you needed to know that it was the ejector seat. They did enough.
Yeah, there's enough. Yeah, if you know
that
film,
you're like, you know he's going to eject.
Yeah, you know.
I wasn't even actually at that point. I actually thought he was going to die. I legitimately thought he was going to die. But the whole time when he got that jet, I was like, oh wow, they actually gave him a jet with actual other things it could do other than just crash.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, an actual jet with actual weapons. Oh, are these missiles? There's a button for missiles? I never got missiles on my plane. See, that's what I was so caught up on. I legitimately thought he was going to die at the end.
I had a feeling they weren't because of the message of the film.
Plus, the mechanic in that scene, he's telling him, and as he's telling me, he was like, I find myself not wanting to die, but for a completely different reason. And he leaned over and he's going back through the pictures, but then it's the picture from his daughter that she drew. And that's what really kind of got, not only did he keep the pictures to remind himself of those that he cost their lives, but that he was also wanting to move forward with this child of his. And so when he said, well, if that's the case, and then they cut back and you see him just pointing to the back and everything else, I'm like, okay, ejector seat. Awesome. Yeah. Right? So I didn't think he was going to die, but I love that struggle, which they did portray very well, of him deciding whether to or not to actually eject. And that was the bigger thing that I liked, was the fact that did he or did he not? Because there's a good 30 seconds where you don't know. You don't know if he's that he ejected. And in fact, I was going to say that the last thing he did, he wasn't pulling for an ejector seat. He was pulling to release the timer on the bomb.
Yeah.
And so you don't know. It's like, was it just too much? Did he go ahead and do it? And it's not until you see, Godzilla disintegrating, not even him, but you see.
Oh yeah, by the way, let me just quickly explain. So what happened was, Godzilla is about to unleash his atomic breath, and so it's charging up. It's like straight up like coming up his throat. And Koichi flies his plane into that, so the bomb and Godzilla's atomic breath meet inside Godzilla's mouth, and it essentially like blows off his like upper jaw, like the top of his head.
Absolutely does occur. Never mind. Go on. Continue.
I actually thought, in terms of convincing way of them actually killing Godzilla, I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with that.
And they set it up. They had set up that was the way to kill him at the very early on in the film. So it was.
It wasn't unheard of, but it was also the fact that to do it in the middle of his breath being done, there's nowhere for it to go upwards or outwards or anything. It just goes.
And it takes out the rest of his body. Yeah.
What did you think of? Wait, sorry.
Hold on. I'm coming to that point. And so, like you said, there's 30 seconds. We don't know if he's alive or dead.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it spends most of that 30 seconds, again, outside of when you're not seeing Godzilla. The other time that they spend is on the mechanic listening on the radio.
Him and the doctor.
But it focuses a lot on the mechanic. And the mechanic, when it says we see him, he's survived. He's hit the ejector seat. When he's crying because he's happy that he's survived, because he goes from wanting to beat him to death when they meet back up at the end of the second act to I want you to live. That scene is, that for me, that's what
teared up. I teared up at that scene.
Yeah, that scene and the fact that the boat captain was telling him, like, do not, and this is while the before the battle is really starting to take place while they're still flying. He was like, do not leave your daughter an orphan.
Yeah.
Do not do that to her. And just him knowing that he did care enough to sit there and say, no, I've got a reason to go back. Right. And then of course the telegram.
The telegram. At which point he realizes, oh my God, I'm an even bigger asshole.
Yeah.
Well, because that's the thing he wanted. Like he was actually like, I'm going to do, like he was the moment he was willing to become, he was genuinely ready to become a kamikaze was when he had the way out. And it's like, okay, we're going to let you live instead of you're not cheating death now. We want you to live.
Yeah.
Even though because now you're ready to give it. Now that you're ready to give up your life, we're going to let you have your life.
No.
Is the thing, is that thought in there? It's like when you had to be, it's like you weren't ready to give up your life. You weren't willing to die for other people yet. And that's why, and that's what made that, and it's like, that's what made you coward, but it did put you in the right position. But your cowardice is what's led to this destruction. Now that you're willing to give up your life, now you can have a life.
Yeah.
But again, it's a very tainted, happy ending with that one. And I love the subtlety of that too.
I really want them to do a sequel where they go into like what happens to Koichi afterwards, because I'd be interested in watching.
I want this to be.
I want it to be a sequel to this one, but not with the same actors. And the reason why is because I feel like, especially with the surrogate mother / wife, it said enough. And I will admit, I'm one of the ones that had to look up the ending because, as I'm sitting there studying, I was like, am I seeing something that's Godzilla related, or is it radiation poison related? And come to find out, like, even though, again, spoiler, even though she survived the city attack from Godzilla, which was not impossible, highly improbable, but again, like Jason points out, this is a movie about a giant lizard with, atomic breath.
Yeah.
She lives, but she's not living. She won't have that long to live. She's got radiation poisoning.
So my idea for a sequel actually would have been like 20 years later. That little girl is all grown up, and Koichi's like an old man who's like an old legend who's still living with a lot of like this angst as being like a national hero, but having had his experiences and traumas still. But then because it's the 60s, Godzilla's legend has time to grow. And now there's all these like young people who are like all fascinated with Godzilla. So then when Godzilla finally regenerates and comes back, there's like actually like people in the 60s who are like trying to actually come out to actually see him. So the destruction's even worse.
It would be the 70s, but so I don't want to see a sequel to this. I want them. I like the movies. Again, I think it's like, here's your story, tell your story, move on. I don't Hollywood this. So let's go back to Hollywood, right? This movie works because it's actually about something. This was not a cash grab. This was a loving and thoughtful exploration of this creature. It was about something. This wasn't just, we need to cash more checks.
Yeah.
This isn't, we need to sell more toys.
It's a franchise that stepped out of the franchise.
Yeah.
It's completely not what we would expect a Godzilla movie to be.
Because there are already talks of a sequel.
There is. But when I see a Godzilla running with his Batman, aka
hold on. I got it. I prepared it. Okay, now here's the thing though. Like the day after watching this movie -1 in the theater, I actually watched the trailer for Godzilla X Kong, and then I saw this bit where they turned Godzilla's spikes in pink, and he and King Kong are running together because they're bros now. And they're in this cave where they look like all regular size. They don't even look giant anymore. I'm like, good job, Hollywood. This is the perfect comparison. This is the perfect comparison.
I have two schools of thought on this, specifically with this image, because Jason, I saw the trailer and I was like, have you seen the Kong Godzilla trailer? And he's like, no. I'm like, see it. I said, and you're going to immediately know what I'm talking about the moment you see this trailer. And he texts me back and he goes, I don't know why, but something's wrong. And I said, I'll tell you exactly what this is that we did not get this scene with Superman versus Batman. That's what's wrong with this picture, is that's what it looks like. This looks like the Justice League just formed, or at least Batman and Superman became, best friends or whatever. Somebody said Martha. I don't really care, but that is what this scene is from. To which Jason did bring me back down a little bit, and we talked about this, and this is what we said. Toho now is at a point where they realized where the American audience was at with the very first Godzilla film. We wanted something to be a little bit more real, a little bit less silly, but impactful. And so we have this beautiful movie that was made. Whereas in Legendary has apparently hit the 70s Toho belief of, what if we had Diddy Kong in here as well?
Yeah, this is 70s Toho Godzilla. We're again, friendly Godzilla, right? For those who
Actually,
remember.
you know what my thoughts were when I first saw this
Mhm.
image? You know what the first thought that came to my head was? I was like, oh, so since when did they turn Godzilla into a lesbian?
He's always been one.
He's always been one. Yeah, because he's
mean-
not actually a he. Godzilla's a she.
Okay, so
Because
Godzilla.
remember
so,
the very
yeah,
original
it's like if you took
Godzilla was
if you
a male.
took Cthulhu and turned it into a lesbian, this is what you get.
It's again, I
Oh, by the way, no offense to my lesbian friends, I do have a few. You know, you rock on, sisters. You know, we're friends. We're cool. I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to diss on lesbians. I diss on straight people all the time, pretty hard. So
You're just equal opportunity to.
I've got friends.
Yeah.
oh, and don't even get me started on the fatties.
Hey, shut up, man. We're right here.
We're right here. I know
but-
four fat people, and you're
and
you're
we're
three
and
of
you're
them.
Oh,
three of
and
them.
those blinds, man, those guys are assholes.
Equal opportunist offender. Love it.
Yeah.
No, but it did dawn on me though that, you know what, I'm probably being a little too harsh. On
not.
Legendary. I think I probably am, just
this is
because
Hollywood. This is this is the crap Hollywood is.
Yeah, but
these are the notes that Hollywood should be taking, right? Because
here's
for all the bullshit woke tard shit that we've had to sift through these past couple years with this nonsense, right? Finally, we get, it turns out that if you do the Joseph Campbell's version of the hero's journey, you have a really good fucking movie. Who knew?
Yeah. Who knew if you actually wrote a script, it would be
Oh,
fine.
the hero's journey.
Well, I think
I didn't realize that worked in movies. Who knew?
I think it's just good writing. You want to give me something that has what people would reflect as wokeness. That's fine. But do me a favor. Make it entertaining. And there have been plenty of movies that have made it entertaining because they were well written and they were able to do that. There have been plenty of movies that have not.
And not all woke movies are bad, neither. Because
Yeah.
there was one woke movie that I fucking loved. My second favorite movie of the year, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Loved it.
That was a woke movie, and I loved
that
the
movie.
shit out of it.
Yeah.
I loved the shit out of that movie.
Well, plus whenever you're beating somebody up with a couple of dildos, that's also pretty funny.
Yeah, I love that pro wrestling shit.
Yeah.
Yes, pro wrestling.
All of it.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
which reminds me, Von Erich's Iron
the
Claw.
Von Erich's, yeah.
Oh,
Not
I'm
wait
seeing
to
that.
see that.
I'm seeing that.
Yeah, that was.
And I didn't even tell Jason this, but my thing was seeing the sportatorium where they
That's
fought.
what got me too. Mhm.
I almost teared up in that trailer because I have memories of going with my father at a young age to watch the Von Erichs fight.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's just fantastic. And yes, I'm that old. Granted, I saw them when I was like 5, and they were already kind of. They were probably at their prime. They were probably at their prime. But I remember.
Aren't you the same age as we are?
He's 2 years older.
Oh, 2 years older?
Just a couple years older. But again.
Stop talking to us like we're youngins, man.
I know, man. Shut up.
Dude.
I'm used to it. You gotta understand.
Back in my day. Yeah.
Well, when I'm
here's the problem.
walking with a cane.
Yeah. Told you. So here's the thing. Like for me, it was a sportatorium as well because I never got a chance to actually go there. We'd never had the money to go there, so we
smelled like dirt, piss, and beer. Any day that you went, it was always going to
smell the same.
How many
people did that place fit?
A couple hundred. That was it.
Yeah, it was small.
That was it.
Yeah, really? I didn't realize that place was so legendary. It was such a small place.
It was very small.
Yeah,
there
must have been a whole bunch of people who'd go there like every show.
No, absolutely. My dad was one of them. My pops was one of them where he was going as often as he could, which was about once or twice a week. Or not a week, but every 2 weeks or so.
That shit must have been fun as hell.
It was a blast, dude. It was,
a fucking blast.
I cannot wait to see this movie.
Oh man, to be alive at that time was fucking freaking awesome, man.
Dude, it was awesome watching. But
I mean, I was alive at that time, but to be
but we were all young.
To be there, right?
Yeah.
For me,
And I still have the great thing about it is I was young enough to not kind of know, but old enough to have those memories. You know, to remember what it's again to this day. I still remember what that smell is when you walked in and
Hey, can I ask you guys? Okay, here's a question for you guys. Okay, we talked about our two favorite Godzilla movies, -1 and Shin Godzilla. In your opinions, what is the third best Godzilla movie?
1985.
That's what that's my answer. That's my answer.
I can tell you what my funnest Godzilla movie is, and I know it gets crapped on a lot, and I was one of those people, but I watch it in retrospect and I think this was a fun movie too.
Matthew Broderick.
The Matthew Broderick Godzilla. What was that, 98?
Yeah, 98. I knew when you said it gets. I'm like,
the soundtrack alone was worth watching that movie, and it was so stupid. I mean, it's not a good Godzilla movie, but it is a fun Godzilla movie.
Honestly, it's dumb fun. It's dumb fun.
It's like turn off your brain and just enjoy
like Tremors.
Yeah, it's 100% like Tremors.
Yeah.
But Tremors was better.
My third favorite
Tremors was better. Tremors was better.
Yeah.
Though.
My third favorite Godzilla movie was the original, without Raymond Burr. So
the original
version. Who are listening, if you saw that grew up and was like, well, Raymond Burr was in that movie. No, he wasn't. It was for the American audiences that they added 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
With him in there to
make
it feel like it was something else.
What was your favorite Godzilla fight scene?
Like
against another monster. Like in all the movies where Godzilla's up against another monster, which one did you think was the coolest fight between Godzilla and another monster?
It's tied, and it's the same creature.
Which one?
Okay.
The very first time he fought Ghidorah.
Okay.
And again when he fought in King of Monsters. I love that fight scene where he's just melting everything around him. As he's like trampling Ghidorah. Again, not my all-time favorite Godzilla movie, but of this current generation of the legendary versions, that Ghidorah fight scene was really cool. And then again, the very first Ghidorah.
Yeah,
the very first Ghidorah fight scene.
So okay, yeah, I gotta give him props, but I kind of want to go back to the 70s, like while the friendly Godzilla is not my favorite scene,
or time
frame. Yeah, the dancing one. Not my favorite time, but the fight scene between him and I forget who they were fighting, but Jet Jaguar was there.
Jet Jaguar.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I love that because it's insane. Like it's
stupid.
It's stupid, but it's stupid. Insane.
Yeah.
But there was one where he was fighting Anguirus when they had the Island of the Monsters, and he was fighting Anguirus, and everyone's like, "Wait, but Anguirus is his friend." I forget what had gone on in the movie, but he took Anguirus and was breaking his jaw open and pulling it that because it was just such a brutal thing. Because hold on, Godzilla's a hero; he's a good guy, and Anguirus is a good guy. What's he doing to Anguirus? And you could just hear the bones snapping as he pulls him. Yeah. It was just such a brutal scene for that time frame. Again, it's like there's that weird when Godzilla's the good guy, and it's fun, and it's like that was it's like that's where we've hit with Legendary. It's following the same pattern where it's like he's the toy, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the fun toy. He's marketable. Toho is going back to what Godzilla was at the very beginning, which is an exploration of pain, trauma, catharsis, and criticism of the government. Again, Shin Godzilla is a political movie. This is more about pain and trauma. And again, going back to did you ever see the cartoon Bambi versus Godzilla?
I have.
It's the greatest thing ever. Yeah. It's like this for me is Godzilla versus Kathleen Kennedy. It's the same thing because
this movie, Hollywood.
It was immediately profitable.
Okay, here's we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
So it came out that the production cost of this movie, Godzilla -1, was $15 million.
Less than
now you've been following, I guess, some of the metrics of what's been going on with some of these movies coming out this year.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones lost hundreds of millions. Right? Yep. Little Mermaid lost money. Not a lot, but lost some money.
Yeah. Well,
Nothing's been profitable.
yeah.
Marvel's lost hundreds of millions. Wish cost like 250 million. Why is this good? Why is this good ass movie? How does it have any business being this good at 15 million? Not even 15 million, because they interviewed the director and they're like, "Oh, we heard you made this movie for only 15 million." And the director was like, "Man, I wish I had that kind of money."
Yeah. I love that. Like, his quote was like,
Yeah.
"I wish we had $15 million." You're like, holy crap. That makes it even more impressive. Because like I said, if you told me this was a $30 million movie, I'd have bought it. And you probably, if it had been $100 million, I would have had trouble with the $100 million because there's some things you can kind of see if you know what you're looking for. You're like, okay. But to your point, it's like, if this had been a $30 million movie, I would have bought it. That would have made perfect sense. The reason this movie is such a slap in the face to Hollywood is they were able to do this on such a small budget. It
Can
was
I tell you one of
immediately
the reasons?
it was immediately profitable, and it shows that all you have to do is just actually just give us a good script. That's all people want.
But you know what it is? One of the other reasons I know how they were able to make the visual effects so good for such a small budget was because the visual effects team had like 6 years to work on this movie. Most
Oh, really?
major Hollywood releases that are these
Yeah.
over inflated budgets, like 250 million, they
And then
give
you've
some.
got
I
9
heard they
months.
gave like, yeah, I heard they gave the Wish animator something like stupid, like 6 months or something. But then they
Oh,
had to
really?
take all these shortcuts. But they give these people so little time.
Yeah.
But you could do a lot better if you just give people time to make a really good fucking movie and get the fuck out of their way.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't happen, man. Commerce train has to keep moving forward.
Well, which goes back to my point of the difference between a cash grab and someone who's actually making a movie that they care about. This is a movie the studio and everyone involved clearly cared about, and you see it. It shows up on the film. Everything else is a cash grab. Everything coming out of Hollywood is a cash grab. Sound of Freedom, people cared about it. Shift, which I want to see, people cared about that, and people are saying that it's good.
Yeah,
These
but I think I don't even think you have to go that far. I think the smaller movies right now is where it's at. Just because, look, people can defend, no, we're not having an issue with, are people getting tired, burnt out, or anything. Well, the bottom line is whether you want to argue with it or not, the evidence suggests, yeah, people are tired of these big budget flicks if they don't have a script behind it, if you're not giving them time to develop.
Yeah.
That's got nothing to do whether it's going to be Disney or Marvel or comic books from DC or whatever. Take your time. Quality.
Yeah.
That's all we're asking for. Quality.
That's
If
it.
you give me two wonderful movies a year that are quote unquote big blockbusters, but they're well written and everything goes great on it, I'm gonna watch. Saw a movie today, not impressed. Was not impressed, even though that budget was way down.
What movie?
And it wasn't the new one on Netflix that just came out. What is it? Leave the World Behind or something like that. Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke, all good acting.
and the guy who's Blade, Herschel
Mark,
Ali.
yeah, all wonderfully acted, but my God, again, write a better script. Like it was just after 15 minutes, I'm like, okay, this has got to go somewhere fast. And it was one of those movies I realized very early on. I can have this on in the background. It's fine. I'm not following.
Okay, to your point, something that came out of mainstream Hollywood that I thought was great was Prey, the Predator thing. But again,
I enjoyed that, but it wasn't perfect.
Oh,
I thought the ending sucked, honestly.
Oh, I love the ending.
The way Predator got at the end, I thought that shit sucked.
Okay, I thought it was fine.
As far as it was written and done, like you can have nitpicks here and there. I don't care about that. Like I was telling Jason, you can have fun movies. You can have movies that are movies that you're going to enjoy because that's your cup of tea, right? But the problem is the vast majority of the crap that's coming out right now is so mind-numbingly tedious.
Yeah. Well, they're just again
boring or the cash grab. It's just
they're just the cash grab. They're soulless.
Cash grab.
And so that's
I mean the Star Wars movies, these last couple. Have you watched any of them? Did you guys watch She-Hulk? You watched She-Hulk, right?
I watched She-Hulk, and I appreciated the ending. I really did appreciate the meta ending of She-Hulk because I think it spoke to a lot of Disney's problems. And they let it go, and I was like, cool, right?
It was pretty honest about it. Yeah, I did find it like very honest. I mean, the only other thing I liked about She-Hulk was when she the first fight she got into with the actual Hulk. She did a sonic clap, but her clap worked differently. Where if she did it really fast, she would create like this high pitched sound. I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. That was literally it. That was literally the only cool thing I thought about the entire show.
It had its moments, but again, that goes back to you're flooding the market with crap because you think everyone's going to buy your stuff because, hey, it's this, it's that.
Yeah.
No, one of the reasons, and I know, Donnie, you may disagree with me or not, I don't know, but I think one of the reasons Barbie worked so well in the theaters and made the money it did was because it took its subject matter, said, we know the ridiculousness of this movie, but we can also appreciate what it means to some people. And that's what they drove it off of. That's why, and even Margot Robbie said, I don't want to see a sequel to this. What else are you going to say? We did it. It was a flash in the pan, but we knew it was well written. This is why this is going to work. And it works because it's done that way. Same thing with, and I know Jason may actually agree with me on this time. Same thing kind of with the Marvels. There was nothing bad about the Marvels. I saw it's not the best thing out there that Marvel's ever done. Of course not.
Well, Shang-Chi was the same way for me. There was nothing particularly bad about Shang-Chi, but it wasn't anything memorable either.
Okay, so so hold on. So I agree with Ray. So Shang-Chi, again, the problem is the third act is what makes that movie not as good. The thing about the Marvels was it's fine. I wish they had spent 30 seconds more on the script. It would have been because there's an easy out for like a few of the problems that they have.
I feel like it could have been better if they actually like gave a shit about the script.
It wasn't even that. They just had to do a little bit more explaining. So they shrunk that movie down so much that I think there was a couple scenes they could have left in, and it still would have been under 2 hours. It still would have been under an hour and 45. Actually, still would have been under an hour and 45, and you could have got across the point just a little bit better. Not that it was bad. It's just you could have done a little bit more to make it better.
They just needed to really just tweak a few things to make it just a touch smarter. Would have been fine. But the reason the movie's good, and I think it has one of the best fight scenes in Marvel, like straight up. It
actually has some really good fight choreography.
Yeah,
cool.
It has one of the
best have to check out the fight scenes then.
All of Marvel, straight
up. I feel like most of these movies, you could just watch like the really cool scenes, and then that'd be like, okay.
Yeah,
I got to hand it to them. It was a very little CGI was used in the fight scenes, and it's all the better for it. I mean, it had fight scenes reminiscent of Winter Soldier. Not quite up to that, but very close.
Yeah, but again, the thing that carries it is I just forgot her name. The girl who
the young actress.
The young actress, the one who plays Ms. Marvel.
Iman Vellani or something.
Yeah. Iman Vellani, that's it. She genuinely cares about the character, and it shows in this film. The film, and again, we were joking. It's like Samuel L. Jackson has stopped acting, and he's just being Samuel L. Jackson, which actually kind of works for the humor. But like the reason the Marvels works, the entire reason it works is Iman Vellani, because she actually cares. They spent $280 million, and the only thing that genuinely saves the film and makes it as good as it is Iman Vellani's heart.
Yeah, she.
That doesn't make it anywhere near Godzilla -1, though. That's for sure.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's
nowhere near.
It's not even close. But
that's the point.
Godzilla says, "Fuck you, Iman Vellani."
So
Godzilla says, "Fuck you."
Here's the thing about her, though, and what I love is that she's someone who has loved the character.
Yeah.
That she was cosplaying as with her when she was younger.
No, I hear she's a good actress and she's charismatic.
Tried
on her.
tried out
Yeah.
for the movie. She's awesome.
No,
and
I don't think any of the. I see.
Yeah.
I don't. I have something against blaming the actors. Don't blame the actors for the shitty writing. They're just
script
actors,
people have a
man.
problem.
Leave those people.
Blame them when they act poorly.
No, when they say
but
dumb
not when
shit on social media, to blame them, right?
Well, yeah.
If they act like a jackass on, like, you know,
I feel
talking shit
we're
about,
going
like,
back to the Flash.
Yeah, we are.
yeah,
But so hold on. I mean, if someone does a bad job acting, that's on the actor. But when it's the script, that is not their fault. I
yeah,
agree.
not their fault.
And heck, you know what? Brie Larson actually acted in this film. I'm like, holy crap! It's like Iman Vellani rubbed off on her, and she's like, I should actually come to work. Which is why it works so well. But again,
you think it was one of those I probably should act better than this kiddo before I get shown up in my own movie, which you did.
That's exactly
what you did
is.
anyway.
Yeah, she did anyway. But
Yeah.
I think it was she actually acted. She's like, well, crap, I need to hold my own.
I gotta show up.
Yeah,
I mean, not Samuel L. Jackson, but Brie Larson.
Samuel Jackson is like, I'm in my 70s.
Mm.
I'm here for the check. Yeah, but it still works because it's Samuel L. Jackson. But again, it goes back to heart, right? It goes back to the thing about, to your point, right? Everything, everywhere, all at once. I don't think it's actually woke. That's the thing, is it may be more on the liberal side. It's not woke. I think that there is a big difference there, because wokeness is about message over substance.
Yeah.
That's what makes something woke, is where
that movie's message was more about family, and it was a little more sincere, in the overall idea behind it.
It had heart.
Yeah.
Where, again, that's the thing, is it's about heart. When you have a cash grab and everyone's there just to show up to make a check, and like the way they do like the special effects, right? They say this movie's going to have 150 special or CGI scenes. What's your bid, right? Well, the thing is, one scene may be you have a digital effect is removing a wire. Then this digital effect is you have a kaiju tap dancing while stormtroopers are parachuting out of starships, right? It's like they bid it all the same, and then you're given 6 months to do it, right?
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. It's
not anymore. They all decided to be a union. Good for those guys.
Yeah, we'll see how. And again, we'll see how that pans out. But
Anyway,
the point is, cash grab versus heart. Heart's going to win 100% of the time, and just let it be.
Oh, you're done.
You're here to make art.
Donnie, go ahead.
I think we've gone on long enough, gentlemen, and I kind of want to go for a smoke. But before we bid y'all's adieu, I want to leave you with one last thought. Okay. I've been sitting here thinking, what if we had to do an American version of Godzilla? You know how Americans like to do remakes of Japanese movies, right? Mm-hmm. Like The Ring, they do the American version of.
Yeah.
What if they did the American version of Godzilla -1? It would be the exact, but taking place in America, right? I would have to think, okay, which time period could you do? And here's what I'm thinking: the Civil War. Godzilla shows up in America during the Civil War. That could be compelling for like the American remake of Godzilla -1.
It's the 70s, I think, is the time frame I would pick. Cold War.
I think Civil War would be kind of fascinating.
It certainly takes a lot.
70s would be. I mean, he shows up anytime, really.
Yeah.
Godzilla, the American version of this.
I think I would do the 70s. It was the American version, but here's my problem with it. I don't want an American version. This movie's perfect. Leave it alone. Like if someone said, "Hey, we need to reboot this and follow this," I would slap somebody. Like, just no.
So here's the thing. I get what he's saying. You couldn't do Godzilla -1, but if you want to get the idea of
behind
it, I think the Civil War would be as good as anything. But he would have to be like 20 feet tall, right? He would need to be smaller. He would need to be. I would make it a very different film altogether, because the reason this works isn't because of the giant monster. It's it's the heart. It's the heart of the characters. Again, that's the story that you want to tell. If you set it in the 70s, the problem is it's gonna be questioning. It's like, well, fight with communism, which I love the fact they actually addressed in this film. Is like, why aren't the Americans showing up to help out?
The start of the Cold War.
Yeah, start of the Cold War. It's like, well, Russia's over here acting a fool. We don't want to start, an atomic war. So sorry, y'all are on your own. Like we'll help out what we can, but you're kind of on your own. So I think Donnie's right. I think the Civil War would be the best venue for
definitely has to be much smaller. Yeah, much smaller.
I'd make him very different.
Okay, so you know where I would pick Godzilla to show up in the Civil War idea? New York City during the Civil War. Like, because there was at one point in
have the Irish Tups go and beat him with the
when Abe Lincoln sent those warships to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know this. Abe Lincoln is the only American president ever in American president history to actually have the Navy shoot at our soil ever. Good job, Abe Lincoln. Good job. He had those ships open up on New York City.
Yeah.
I think people forget that. They don't mention that about him.
There's a lot of things people don't mention about Abe Lincoln.
A fine accomplishment, Abe Lincoln. Kudos to you, sir.
Like a bullet through the head.
And I'm like, imagine if Godzilla showed up at that time and they made that movie.
Yeah.
Abe Lincoln is a Nine Inch Nails fan.
Yeah. I hear he can wrestle. Sometimes I wonder if you took Abe Lincoln in his wrestling prime versus Teddy Roosevelt in his judo prime, who would win?
That's a good question.
John Wilkes Booth.
How dare you, sir? How dare you? How dare you?
The vampires would win, Ray.
Okay, I think we're going to leave it at that, folks. I've been talking shit about Abe Lincoln. I'm sorry. Perfect way to end the Donnie Cho show. Peace.